My name is Michaela and I work in the Faculty of Science, and we have quite a number of people here to talk to you today. So we have my colleague Kim, who is up there. We have some wonderful current students. We've got Larissa, Artemis, Lachlan, Casey and Amy. And we also have 3 alumni. We have Tanvi, Chang and also Carla, who are coming to you from various parts of the world. So that's exciting. The way this is going to work, I will just go to my next slide. We are going to start with a bit of course information just to sort of get you understanding all the things about our courses and making sure that you've got some questions to ask and get all that information that you need as year 11s and 12s and potentially year 10s and earlier. And also we are going to then go into looking at some things built in our course, because the whole flavour of this webinar is things that we do within our Bachelor of Science and our other courses to make you more employable, so that when you do finish, you will then be able to go off into the workforce and do your thing. Then what we're going to do is do a bit of a panel with our current students, and they're going to talk about the things that they're doing at the moment to, once again, make themselves more employable, all the field trips and internships and things like that they're doing. And then we're going to talk to our alumni after that, and Kim is going to take over from there. So that is what we're doing today. So hopefully we can race through and get it all done, dusted by about 7:30. So without further ado, I will get started. But before I do, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land from where I'm presenting today, the people of the Kulin Nations, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. All right. Oh, bit of housekeeping as well. Don't forget. If you do have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to put them in the Q&A down the bottom. And we've got lots of people here to answer them. So the more questions we have, the better. We always really love answering everyone's questions. And ambassadors, if there are any particularly good ones, can you flag them as answer live? Because then we can actually have a discussion about them, and it won't be just one person answering them. So we'll answer those ones live. All right. So in terms of our science courses, we do have a number of them. So firstly, we have our Bachelor of Science, which is our flagship course. It has the most students in it. It is the most flexible. It's very popular. We get lots and lots of applications for it per year. And the good thing about the Bachelor of Science is that you can pair it with a double degree. So if you are interested in studying, say, computer science and science, or if you want to do, say, music and you still want to keep up your instrument and study science at the same time, education science, there's a whole range of different combinations that you can see here. So it's definitely possible. And it is one of those things that people really love about Monash, is you are able to study 2 degrees at the same time. We also have 2 selective degrees, and I'll go into further detail about these very soon. We have the Bachelor of Science Advanced Research Honours and the Bachelor of Science Advanced Global Challenges Honours. Now, where you see an honours in brackets, that is basically a 4th year where you can then do a project or a thesis, and then you can use that honours year to then apply for higher study if you want to. All right, we've also got 2 data science courses, the Bachelor of Applied Data Science and the Bachelor of Applied Data Science Advanced, which also has an honours year there too. All right. Now, before I keep moving, actually, it's a good question to ask. I forgot I had my polls here. I'm going to launch a poll quickly. So what year level are you in currently? Because this will be helpful to sort of see what level of detail I need to go into for further. Excellent. Some year 12s and year 11s and 10s. Excellent. A couple of others. All right. Excellent. So there's a few year 12s, a few year 11s, a few year 10s. Cool. All right. Thank you. All right, we'll do that. That's very, very helpful. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Ooh. We do have a range of science majors. So as you can see on the screen, there are a whole range of different types of science that you can study. You've got biomedical science majors, mathematics, ecology and conservation biology, there's psychology, there's chemistry, there's physics, there's basically every science that you can think of. And at Monash, you can actually pair these in weird and wonderful ways, or complementary. So if you want to do something afterwards, say medicine, you might be doing things like physiology or developmental biology. I can never say that one. Or if you're wanting to do things, say, in physics, you might be doing maths and physics at the same time. Lots of students do zoology and ecology and conservation biology at the same time. But some students do some weird and wacky combinations of majors as well. And usually in a Bachelor of Science, you can do 2 of these at once. And sometimes if you're clever and you're doing maths, you can do 3 of them if you're lucky. I did want to put this slide in here just to show you a little bit about how our course is structured. This is our Bachelor of Science, our flagship course. And as you can see, there are 4 units per semester. So each semester you study 4 different subjects. And for each major that you study, there'll be 8 different subjects under that umbrella. So if you're studying, say, I don't know, psychology, you'll be doing psychology 1, psychology 2, and then psychology 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, for example. And they all come under that same umbrella. And as you can see, there is plenty of space to fit in a second major. And you can also take electives outside of the faculty as well. So if you want to do, say, arts units, or if you want to do business units, or a music elective, you can do that and incorporate that into your course as well. There is a compulsory maths and stats unit in first year, but if you hate maths, you never have to do maths again. So you can do it and then get it over and done with. But maths and stats is really, really important for most science courses, because you'll be dealing with stats in some way, shape or form, depending on what you're studying. All right, so this is our Bachelor of Science. As I mentioned before, we've got our ATAR up here, so it's 85. You may be eligible for the Monash Guarantee or Cs. If you have any questions about the Monash Guarantee or Cs, there are some great resources online. Essentially, they're 2 equity programs that you can apply for in order to make it easier for you to get into uni. So if you don't know what they are, year 10s and 11s, please Google Monash Guarantee and Google Cs, Special Entry Access Scheme, and you can start collecting information about it now. It does help. This course obviously is very flexible. You can study up to 2 majors. You can add an honours year. And the other good thing about science is that there is a subject adjustment bonus. So if you haven't heard of subject adjustment bonus before, essentially we reward you for studying more than one science subject. So there's a helpful calculator online. I don't know if anybody wants to find the calculator and put that in the chat, but there is a helpful calculator online, and you can put your subject and the score that you think you're going to get into the calculator and work out how many extra bonus points you'll have to your aggregate. It does sometimes make a difference in the selection process, so have a look at the subject adjustment if you can. We also have, as I mentioned, several different degrees. So this is the Bachelor of Science Advanced Research Honours. So this has the benefit of this course is that it does allow for accelerated learning. It's for students who are really high achievers, who want to go potentially into a research field or just really want to be challenged in their course. There is research training from second year, and it is part of a small cohort. So it's a small cohort of students. They get a lot of mentoring, both academic and peer mentoring, and the course director, Vanessa Wong, is really great at finding opportunities for these students. So if you're interested in that more sort of cohort experience, this could be the course for you. Once again, if you're interested in going straight into higher research or PhD, this is a really, really great option as well. You have to do a double major, and that means your electives is less, so keep that in mind. We also have the Bachelor of Science Advanced Global Challenges. This has an ATAR of 90 and a range of criteria that you need to meet in order for you to be eligible. The range of criteria include a supplementary form, which you can find on the Global Challenges website, and also an interview as well. So once you're successful in all elements of the application process, then you might be offered or not. So if you're interested in that course, keep that in mind. There is a range of criteria. The difference with this course is that it essentially is a science degree. So you've got your science major there and your electives, but there's also these impact through science projects which train the students to be more socially aware and to also be more entrepreneurial and be leaders in their field and, persuasively communicate with people on the grounds of policy and things like that. So it's really great for students who want to change the world through science. And in the final year of that degree, the students will go and start their own sort of social venture. So they'll work on this project through the entire year, and at the end of the year, they'll have a startup or a project that they can produce. Our 2 data sciences courses are quite similar. We have our data challenges units here, our IT, our maths, our applied studies and electives. This course is really, really great for students who really love maths and IT and want to use it in an applied way. So the students come in, they do a lot of maths and modelling in the maths part. They do a lot of coding, so they learn how to write code in the IT part. And then they use those skills to sort of manipulate data sets and look at large data sets and find findings. And in their data challenges units, it's all studio based. They work in small teams. They get given a project at the start of the semester and they work through it. And at the end of the semester, once they've found whatever it is that their data is saying, they then present it in front of their peers, and they're marked based on that. So there's no exams for that one, so keep that in mind. And because data scientists have to be able to look at data across many different areas, there are also applied studies units which can be in different areas so that they're able to then look at the data through different lenses as well. Once again, there's a subject adjustment bonus available. And then, of course, this course is the big brother to the Bachelor of Applied Data Science, and it has a 4th honours year, which includes an industry research project. So unfortunately, students we're only into year 2 of this course and they haven't quite gotten to this part yet, but I'm sure that once they do, there'll be lots of great stories about the industry research project and lots of employment coming out of that too. All right, so that takes me to the end of my very quick rundown of the courses that we offer. So if anybody has any questions, we can put them in the Q&A. Oh, Kim,
yes. I know, it's my turn.
Do you know if you can still have electives when you do a double major?
Yes, absolutely. In a single degree.
Yes.
It depends on how you structure it and what the major is. So if the major is, if one of the majors, is a non-science major, then the electives will be taking up that space. If students elect to study 2 science majors in the Bachelor of Science, they could then have that elective component available.
Oh, excellent.
So, Michaela.
Oh.
Can you do an honours year if you're doing a double degree?
Why do you always give me the tough questions, Kim? You can. So you will have to choose which course. You firstly have to be eligible for it. So in order to do an honours year, you need to have at least a distinction average, so that's 70%. And then you need to apply to do the honours year, and you also have to choose which degree you're going to be doing it in. So if you're doing, say, science and arts, you either have to pick science or pick arts. And I think it also has to be related to your major, doesn't it, Kim? It's got to be similar, in a similar field to your major. So if you're majoring in, I don't know, psychology in your, we can do that in either, but just say you're majoring in psychology in your science, and you're doing, I don't know, international relations in your arts, it has to be related to psychology in your honours year. So it's still got to be that way. But yes, you definitely can do it. And some courses already have an honours year inbuilt, like engineering and education. You have to do that honours year in order to be qualified in that course. So then you can go back and do a second honours year if you want to in the other course, but it would just make your degree very long.
Okay, another question for you. Can you overload? So can you overload units in your degree?
Ooh, I think
yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can. However, you do require permission from the course coordinator, because we do need to be really mindful that we're not putting students under pressure. Some students might study a single degree and then maybe a diploma alongside, so that's considered overloading. But again, if you are going to undertake additional units, you do need that permission.
Cool.
Is anyone, actually, have any of the students here overloaded? Chang, of course. You're not a student anyway. What do you mean? Can you tell me your situation with overloading when you were studying?
I'll let Casey go. I think they had.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm doing a double degree in engineering, and in the first year, if you don't do physics and maths, just like a selection of subjects in year 12, then you have to overload for one of your semesters. So I didn't end up having to do that, but it's very common in first year engineering to have to do that. But I'm just going to say it's very much not advised unless you have to, because it's not really going to get you anywhere. You're probably still going to complete your course in the same amount of time, and 4 is already a lot of work. It's not like 4 subjects in high school.
Cool. Excellent.
Perfect. And Michaela?
Yes.
What's the subject requirement in Year 12 to enter all of these science
Very
courses?
good. Well, it differs from each course. So it's very important to have a look at the entry requirements for each course individually that you are looking at. And that includes across universities as well. So don't just look at the Monash ones. If you're putting any course on your preference list, if you don't meet the requirements for that course, you won't get an offer. So, and all universities and courses are different. So make sure you double check the entry requirements for each course. For example, if you're looking at the Bachelor of Science, it's an 85 ATAR. You need to do a science unit, and that can be biology, physics, chemistry, geography, psychology, environmental science, for example, and need to get a 25 in that. And then you also need to get a 25 in English. You don't need maths methods for some of our courses. So the Bachelor of Science, you don't need maths methods for, but there are other courses such as the Bachelor of Applied Data Science, which you do need maths methods for. So once again, my advice to you would be to double check every course as you go to make sure you've got the prerequisites for it. And if you don't have the prerequisites, there are other pathways that you can do and creative things that you can do, such as entering another university or another course and then picking up those prerequisites as you go. But if you do need a pathway at any point in time, we're going to give you our contact details so that you can contact us when the time arises and we can help you on a case-to-case basis. All right.
Okay, one more question. Have we got time?
Yes. Oh.
Okay, one more. Can you do two science, or can you, I suppose, study two science majors with electives?
Yes, I think it's just this person got cut out. So you can do a double major with two science majors, and you can have room for electives. Yeah, it just depends on the majors that you're doing, and it just depends on if you're doing a single degree. So it's definitely possible in a single degree. And if you're in a double degree with something else, it starts to get a little bit more challenging. So my advice to everybody is, if you're interested in a course, have a look at the course map. It will really shed some light on how the course is structured and how many units you can fit in. So it's another good thing to do for your research. All right, so I'm going to quickly go into some of the things that we do incorporate into our courses to make people more employable and career ready when they're finished. So the first one is the science internship unit, and this is where students can apply for this unit. That if they're successful, they can then go and do an internship that is then sort of credited back onto their degree. They have to do at least 80 hours of study. And the good thing about this is obviously you're going into a workplace, you're learning these skills, it makes you more employable, and then you're able to sort of, use that on your resume as you go forward. We help you out by doing pre-placement workshops and things like that to help you build the skills that you'll need to go into the workplace. And usually students find their own internship, but if you can't, there's also a team that will help you suggest internships for you as well. Have any of our student ambassadors actually done this subject? I forgot to ask this before we start. I know lots of internships. We said yes. I can't see you. Lucky?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your internship for this one?
Yeah, sure. I did in the summer. This most recent summer. Basically, I heard about it, and they actually found an internship for me. They found me a couple of interview opportunities. Monash are really good like that. And obviously, you don't get it just straight away based on that. You have to interview and everything. But they gave a few options, which is really good, especially if you're new and you're not exactly sure what's out there. They find something suitable to what you want as well. So myself doing statistics, computer science, maths, and physics and that stuff, I actually got an internship with a small firm called Atmo Biosciences. And basically my job was a data analyst. They just had a lot of, basically, I'll go into a little bit of detail. It was really cool. They were developing a capsule, essentially. They're developing a capsule that's meant to detect gas concentrations in the stomach and the digestive tract in order to hopefully diagnose symptoms like things like IBS in a more non-invasive way that doesn't take too long. And so I feel like the current methods in doing that are quite invasive, time-consuming, painful even, but this way it's a capsule you buy over the counter, and what you do is you take it, data's Bluetooth to a device, your phone, and then they are able to read the gas levels from there and basically say, oh, you're too high in this, you probably have, and make a diagnosis like that. So my job was to use accelerometer data to try and find marks to detect where in the digestive tract the capsule lies, because it was difficult to actually tell, is it in the stomach right now? Is it in the intestine? Is it in the small intestine? Is it in the colon? We don't actually know. So they were just finding a whole bunch of ways in order to do that. And as an analyst, I was able to work for 3 weeks on that to try and find ways. It was really awesome. It's the great thing about it is I never would have even known that this was like a thing that you could have done. But this unit basically helped give me the opportunity to do something I probably never would have done. Because if you're finding your own internships, even this stuff might be difficult to find. So it's really, really awesome experience for me, and I'm really glad I did this unit.
Cool. It's a very niche field.
Yeah.
Measuring people's inside internal gases. I know a few friends who probably definitely benefit from the technology when it's done, because they've got horrible issues with that sort of stuff. So just so you know, Lockie's major in science is actually mathematics, and he's doing computer science as well, which we're getting to in a minute, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So it's kind of one of those things, not really, I can see that it would be one of those things you probably hadn't thought of doing before. So, because it's not in the same sort of thing. All right, we've also got the Career Skills for Scientists unit, and essentially this is a unit that helps develop soft skills for our students in the workplace. So they look at things like career planning and also looking at transferable skills and looking at commercial awareness and things like that. Has anybody here done this unit that's not Lockie? Anyone? Okay, not a popular unit. Oh, Carla's done it many years ago. Carla, what would take one thing about this unit that you that was actually useful for you as an alumni, actually?
So I think I might have done a variation of this, but from my memory, we would write up a CV, and we actually had someone from the Career Centre look over it for us, as like transitioning from a more student CV to a professional, I guess. But I've actually, I think, been a panelist in this unit as well. So they do get alumni members in from a variety of different careers. So it's a really good opportunity to see, I think, in my experience in science, sometimes you were a bit unaware of what your career could actually lead to. And most people sort of thought it just had to be something lab-based. So this is really good opportunity for students to see all the different variety of careers that people are doing after a science degree.
Cool. Thanks, Carla. It is a really, really important thing because, you know, as we've had 2 examples of, you know, left of centre careers that you might end up in, you may not have thought about before. All right, and science research project units are also available both as a subject and also in summer and winter semesters. So if you're keen on doing some research, there are heaps of different academics that are doing projects at any one time, and they always need people to help them. And once again, you can do a science research project unit, or you can do it in your own time in summer and winter. So there's 2 different ways that you can access those. Did anybody do a particularly cool one? Larissa, didn't you do one of these? A research? Maybe I'm wrong. No.
I did a research internship, but not necessarily a unit.
Okay, cool. No, that's fair enough. Has anybody done the science research unit? No. Oh, Tavi, you've done it. Excellent. What did you do yours in?
Yes, I did do a research unit. I did mine in Earth, Atmosphere and Environment. So I did a really cool project where I went up to the Bellarine Peninsula to look at coastal erosion and how we can protect some of the vulnerable coastal communities from sea level rise. And so I got to deploy some really cool wave loggers where we measured the attenuation, or basically the energy of the waves, and how it sort of changes between different structures in the water, and see how we can map out erosion over historical time periods, and basically just analyze how sea level rise is affecting coastal communities and if we can do anything about it.
Cool. Excellent. And you still remember it to this day, so it must have been a pretty great research project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. Excellent. All right, does anybody have any questions before we keep moving? Okay, cool. There's a few in there. So what we might do is I might just come and talk to those at the end of the session once we've finished, and then we'll come back to it. All right. Obviously we have a range of different students who've already spoken to them before. I did want to put this slide here just to show you the different types of courses that they're all doing. So we have Larissa, Artemis, Amy, Lachlan, and Casey, and they're all doing a range of different double degrees, and well, they're all doing double degrees actually, and a different set of majors. And obviously it just really shows the types of courses that you can study at Monash and the different types of experiences you might have as a student at Monash, depending on the major that you decide to study, because that definitely has a big influence on what you might end up doing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk a little bit more about the student experience and talk about things like internships and that the students might have organised on their own, or also field trips that they might have gone on and things like that. So we'll just keep going in this panel style. It's very informal. And remember, if you do have any questions throughout the rest of the presentation, please just put them in the Q&A and we'll get through them as we go. So firstly, all of the people here, I think everyone, is or has been part of the Science Student Ambassador Program. And this is a really important program that we run in the Faculty of Science, because we need help when we are doing various things, and the best help we can get is from our current students. You learn lots of soft skills, and you also get to do fun things like this and events when we can do them in real life, which unfortunately hasn't been the case for the last 18 months or so. But it's a really, really great opportunity to network and to meet other students who are doing very different things to you. So if you do end up in Monash and you do really want to give back and also participate in a cool project, you can join the Science Student Ambassador Program. We also have peer-assisted study sessions, which are part of the first year experience. So if you are keen on getting some extra help for your studies, you can apply. You can go along to biology and chemistry past sessions, and I think they've got them for maths and not past sessions, but they are helpful, where older students will help you with your first year subjects. So if you need any help for any of your studies, it's definitely there. I'm going to get Amy to talk a little bit about the peer mentoring program, because I know that she's been doing a bit of that this year. So Amy, if you want to give us a little bit of a rundown of what that is.
Yeah, so hello everyone, my name's Amy and I am the event manager for the Science Peer Mentoring Program at Monash. And basically what our program is it's a transitional program which helps first year students transition from school to university. And so each faculty in the university has their own program, but the science program is kind of special because it's been established for quite a long time. And we're lucky enough to run many events throughout both semester 1 and 2. And basically the way it would work is if you are a first year student at Monash and you might be a little bit nervous about how everything works, you get paired up to a mentor in a group of other first year students. So it's a great way to meet new people in your little kind of smaller group of around 8 people, and also have a great point of contact who is either a second, third year or beyond student. And you can always ask them questions about anything to do with science, to do with student life, as well as attending lots of fun events with free food. Yeah, so that's one of the great benefits of the program.
I definitely have seen you running around, Amy, with large boxes of boxes that used to hold pizzas. So there's definitely a lot of free food flying around in that program. And obviously it still runs even though things are online as well, doesn't it, Amy? So even when things go online, it still runs.
Yeah, so even just for like the news today that we've got the lockdown going on, for our current students who are in the program for semester 2, we've got lots of online events coming up, which range from like Zoom sessions like trivia and that kind of thing, but also like independent activities where we might challenge the students to, for example, we had like an Olympics kind of event where we challenged the students to make up their own kind of fun Olympic event, like tossing a paper, like a ball of paper into like a basket and being really creative. So yeah, it's a really great place to meet new people and just have a bit of fun as well as getting mentoring and advice.
Oh, excellent. Thanks, Amy. Now, I know that none of our current students have done the Science Future Leaders program, but I'm wondering if any of our alumni have done it. Any of our, I don't know. No? Essentially, it's a really great program that is for students who want to be leaders in science. There is a camp involved, and there's a whole range of different activities in the usual year. And they've also got some online stuff and a mentoring program involved in that as well. So that's a pretty cool one. Science Industry Week. Hands up if you've been to or have been to Science Industry Week before. Excellent. Artemis has. I think Lockie has and Chang has. That's good.
Yep.
Science Industry Week in the past was an in-person event, and I think that they're hopefully, if the restrictions ease, it will be an in-person again. And each of our schools, so that's maths, EAE, physics and astronomy, and chemistry and biological sciences, each have a night where they have industry speakers come in and speak to our students. Lockie, I don't know if you want to give us a little bit more of a detail about what happened when you went that one time. So, yeah,
it was a couple of years ago now. It was my second year in 2019. I thought it was really great because even though I was in my second year, I kind of stayed oblivious to a lot of the potential careers that you could go on to after doing maths, physics, because they separate the night into, they have several different nights, at least they did, for the different disciplines within science. So there was one for chemistry and biology, I think. Mine was for maths and physics. And just the range of careers that can come out of doing a maths and physics degree, I thought would be a lot more narrow than what it was. And listening to they had a panel essentially of a range of alumni from Monash who studied physics or maths or both. And they just talked about their job, their role. And it was really eye-opening, and I thought it was like a lot of what they did was really cool, and I just wouldn't have thought of it. I can't remember the specifics, but also afterwards they had a networking session with some food up in the chemistry building where you could actually talk to them. There was a bit of crowding around them, so you have to wait your turn or whatever, but it was good because you could speak to them one-on-one even for a short while. And at the time, as I said, I wasn't particularly aware. And then, it made me realize, there's actually a lot of cool stuff, specifically with analysis, like data analysis and stuff like that. It actually is what prompted me to take up a couple of computer science units, which prompted me to change into a double degree of computer science. So it was actually really good. Definitely useful.
I thought meeting Chang was the reason why you changed into a degree in computer science.
No, I was already in computer science when I met Chang.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I take it back. I thought trivia for you. Just so you know, Lockie's changed degrees how many times, Lockie? Oh, no, he's frozen.
Twice.
Okay, cool. And what
3 different degrees.
Yeah, what did you start in? Because that's always an interesting story as well.
Yeah. So I started in commerce and science double degree. My idea was that I liked physics in high school, and also that I kind of I just thought that I'd like to do something in maths, and I thought actuarial science or like econometrics or just like statistical analysis. I thought that'd be cool, so I went into commerce. I didn't like commerce that much, so I went into science to just do pure maths and physics. And then, as I said, I entered this careers night and they said, coding's kind of important. Coding always scared me because I was terrible with computers. But turns out it's just like a big calculator and it's really fun, especially if you like maths. So I did a couple of computer science units and went, this is actually really, really fun. I like it. So then I transferred again. So there's a lot of flexibility because since I had electives, I could obviously study computer science. And then after that, I was like, cool, I'll switch into this. So yeah, that's basically what I did.
Cool. And it sounds like you're really enjoying what you're doing now. So that's good. Good.
Yes.
Cool. I just moved the view back to this because it's much easier to sort of see everybody as they're talking and have a bit more of a panel discussion. The last couple of things were clubs and societies, but I think the reason why we've asked these lovely people here today is because we've got some really good experience with both field trips and also internships. So I'm just going to ask a little bit about our current students, what they're currently doing now. Casey, you've actually organised your own internship, didn't you? Which wasn't part of the university course, but you just did it off your own back. So can you tell us a little bit about that exciting opportunity?
Yeah, so I did an internship last summer with a mining company in New South Wales. So I did the whole application online, and I did it with, so I'm doing a double degree with engineering and science. So I did it with my science degree. So I was a geologist, which is exciting. So yeah, I relocated to New South Wales for 3 months and worked in the gold and copper mine up there, which was absolutely amazing. Made some amazing contacts, and really interestingly got to speak to some of the people working there about their career paths and sort of get an idea about what I wanted to do long term. So that's why I changed my engineering specialization into civil engineering, actually, because of that internship. So I got to meet some pretty cool people, and hopefully heading back with the same company in their mine in WA this summer, assuming we can with COVID. So yeah, I did that one by myself. I didn't want it to count towards a unit just because I'm doing a double degree, and I'm already doing an extended major in geology, so I couldn't really fit it in. But I figured it's just as useful to have it, you know, a not funded one, but you know, nothing to do with the uni.
Cool, excellent. That's a very exciting one. Larissa, did you say you're doing you did an internship as well, but it's very different because it's psychology, not mine. So
yeah, psychology is different from what we traditionally think about science, but it is a part of science. So it's different from everyone's experience. I found my internship myself as well, but it's through contacting one of my unit's lecturer. So after a whole unit, I read her research paper and I was like, oh, I'm actually really interested in this area of study that you conducted. So I emailed her. I was like, hi, I've read through your papers and it looks really interesting. Is there any internship opportunities that I can take? And then she was like, because that was like last year, and then they didn't really have any studies going on because of COVID. And then she was like, oh, can you email me back like half a year later? And I did that. So that's how I got my internship. I am working with a PhD student on her project. It's about cognitive training in improving children's working memory. I was only supposed to stay for 80 hours because of faculty requirements, but because it was such a rewarding journey, I decided to stay for another 80 hours. But basically what we did in there was I was involved in the project's development state, which is basically just preparing materials for the study. And also now we're moving towards to the data collection.
Cool, excellent. Thanks, Larissa. And Artemis, you've done 1,000,001 things. So I don't know if you want to, I don't know which one you want to talk about first, but you've done maybe, I don't know, what's your favorite internship? Because you've done about 10 of them. So
yeah, actually, it's funny. Casey mentioned that she did her internship because she did it externally because she didn't want it to count towards her credit points. Whereas I wanted to do the same thing. I didn't want it to count towards my units, but I didn't read it right, and I ended up overloading. So it was 12 credit points instead of 6 in a winter, and it expanded by 4 weeks. The stress was just next up, but no, it was amazing. And that was my first ever internship. So I did that about 2 or 3 years ago. And that was with a climate change think tank. So I do environmental science as an extended major for my science degree. That's my passion. So I wanted to do something in the climate space. And they sourced it for me. So there was a climate change internship that was available, and I clicked that. That was really enjoyable, but again, like, you know, it counted towards my units, so my credit points, so there was a bit of homework for that. Then the second one I did was, that was my favourite. So I was lucky enough to join the Victorian Department of Premier and Cabinet in the climate change and energy group in the team. And that was for 3 months just before COVID started. So it was from the start of January until the end of March. And we literally went into our first ever lockdown in my final week with them. And also the start of it was bushfires. So it went from being absolutely hectic with, you know, the decimation of, you know, most of Eastern Australia, and then just being completely empty at the end of the experience for COVID. But got to do some really, really interesting things in the climate and energy space there. And my most recent one, again, was an interesting one because I didn't read it right, but I think the message that I'm going to put forward here is that every experience counts, and that it gives you extra skills and transferable skills, and it's any experience you can get is so useful and valuable. But I was in the Bureau of Meteorology, which is a yay, but I ended up in the IT department. So I was hoping to do some climate forecasting and analysis, but ended up doing some really like interesting, write-ups for, what to do in a climate change situation, but that involved a bit more of the technical expertise. So that was, again, really, really interesting. And I think that sums it up, but I mean, yeah.
And this is your last year, and now we can reveal that you actually have gotten a job, right? After you finished.
Yes, it paid off.
Yay!
So next year I start with Arup, which is an engineering construction company, and I'll be an environmental consultant with them. So that's the other thing I did wasn't an internship, but never mind. I did like a couple of extra things that helped with that.
Yeah.
Those
congratulations.
are the internships. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well done. And I guess that's a really good example. I just wanted to finish on that of having every experience, and will hopefully eventually get you that dream job at the end. And Artemis has managed to do that, so congratulations. That's really exciting. So yeah. All right, well, I'm going to bring my slides back because I think I'm now driving the slides, and Kim's going to take over the talking. So unless we want to do some questions, I don't know, we're kind of running out of time though, so we might do the questions at the end. Where's my screen? All right, so Kim, take it away.
Take it away. Can I have the next slide, please, Michaela?
Oh, there you go.
Great, fantastic, thank you. It's my absolute delight and pleasure to introduce three of our alumni. Previously would attend these events as current students, but Tanvi, Carla and Chang have all been science ambassadors at some stage. Carla, I think we've known each other the longest. It's been about 5 years now, and it's fantastic to be able to keep in touch with our students and see where they go, and the different things that they're doing. So not only do you spend a little bit of time with them while they're studying and attending, or not attending, but sharing their journey with them, but also afterwards. And for us, that's really, really special, and we think it's really important. So I thank them for coming here today. Carla is actually joining us from Ireland, so it's nice and warm over there and in the morning, unlike our rainy, cold, freezing night in Melbourne. So what I might do is, it will be like a bit of a panel situation, so I am going to ask you some questions. They have their information underneath as far as their degrees and what they're currently doing, but I might start off with Tanvi. What I will actually ask you to do is, if you could just introduce yourself to everyone and talk about, I suppose, the course that you studied, but why you selected that course when you were in year 12. And when you were in year 12, thinking about selecting the course to study at that time, did you know what you wanted to do?
Thanks, Kim. And yeah, like when you asked me to think 12, back to year 12, it feels like such a long time ago. But I guess I always knew that I loved science. So I knew that I wanted to be a scientist. And I studied the Bachelor of Science Advanced Research honours degree, as it says up there. And the reason I picked it was because it sounded cool. I thought research was interesting. I didn't really know what research really involved as a year 12, but it sounded interesting, and I loved science, and I thought, this is probably the best thing for me to choose at this stage. At the time, I really wanted to be an astronaut and study astrophysics and physics. I was a crazy physics nerd throughout all of my high school years. So I pretty much just had it all sort of set in my mind that I was going to do maths and physics and then do a major in astrophysics. And so I chose the degree, I chose a couple of units as well. And then I realized that I never really gave any other sort of science streams any sort of thought, because I was so involved in just thinking about physics. And then I did a couple of maths units in first year, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I really like maths. I don't really know if I want to do physics. And then so I was looking at the climate studies and Earth, atmosphere and environment brochure, and I was like, wait, this is really interesting. Like, I've never thought about this, and it's such a you know, like a progressing field at the moment, on environmental science and climate change, sea level rise, you know. And so I just took an Earth, atmosphere and environment unit just to try it out in first year, just to see what it was like, and I realized that I really loved it. And so from going from choosing maths and physics to now I'm, you know, an environmental scientist, it's been a journey of you know, self-discovery and finding out what I really love doing. So yeah, I guess the main thing is that your interests will change the more you study different subjects and realize what you like and don't like. But at least I'm still within that realm of science, because I always loved science.
I just actually can't see you as an astrophysicist, but anyway, that's brilliant. Now on to someone that does love maths, Chang.
So my story in year 12 was very similar to Tanavi's. I think I was also like, wow, astrophysics is so cool, physics is so cool. In BC, I did methods, specialist, chem, physics, Ing Lang. So I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. But coming into uni, I think I kind of went the opposite approach to Tanavi. I was like, wow, maths is really good. I am really enjoying this. So I kept it up. And then I realized that physics, well, that's not as mathsy as I wanted it to be. So I was like, all right, I don't need physics. I'm trying to do more maths. But I think choosing the degree, it was like, I'm really enjoying these subjects in year 12. It looks like this in uni is basically what I did in year 12. So I'm going to pick science. And then, you know, there's always like your parents going, how are you going to get a job with this? So I picked up data science as well. And I mean, that's been really good. As Lockie said, we're doing the same majors, by the way, but as Lockie said, like coding is really fun. It feels like if you do maths, you probably like coding, and that's true for me. And I think it was true for Lockie as well. So yeah, so that worked out well for me. And then going to all the industry stuff throughout uni, I think affirmed that, yeah, I'm happy with what I'm doing. I like the job prospects that there were, so I'm going to keep it up.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, Carla, you always had a goal and a dream, and it's been a journey to get there. But having said that, you've gained so much experience and you've been involved in so many different things. So the slide that everyone can see just lists you as currently studying a medicine degree. But what I'd like you to do is if you could go into a little bit more detail about what it was like when you finished year 12, the decisions you made then, when you left university, and the different positions that you've held since then.
Wow, yeah, loaded question.
I know, because there's so much to say. You've got so much to say.
So much to say. And I know this medicine is always a popular option that a lot of people are looking at. So I'm going to say something controversial, like I always say, that at the start of when I finished year 12, I was just medicine. I want to do medicine. And I was actually really disappointed to be going into science, given that at the start. But looking back, everything I always said that I never wanted to do, or that I thought would be horrible in my head as a year 12 student, that was just like, oh, you know, like didn't get the ATAR, obviously, that was required for medicine, as it's super, super competitive. And I was initially quite devastated. And then, but getting into science was actually the best thing that ever happened in my life. I literally said, I'm never going to work in research. Ended up working in research for 3 to 4 years. And I was like, that's never going to be my career plan. When I finished science, I was like, I hate it. Goes to show how much I didn't know in year 12 when I finished. So I ended up picking science just because, purely for the fact that I was like, oh, it's a precursor to medicine. You know, a lot of people study it. And obviously the option is science or biomedicine. And in hindsight, I'm so glad I picked science and not biomedicine. And a lot of my friends in biomedicine would say the same thing. which is another controversial opinion. But I guess what the Kim and Michaela have talked about today about the flexibility that a science career and degree, I guess, gives you is just incredible. And I think it actually, I could actually tailor my subjects better to doing a medicine degree in the future in science. So my major was in physiology and I minored in developmental biology. And so those are two things that have helped me massively starting medicine now. So it's been incredibly helpful in that regard as well. So then I actually, as I said previously, went on to do honours after I finished science. I did it in a public health project. So I was working at the Royal Melbourne Hospital with an anaesthetist, who's now the head of the Australian Medical Council, actually. So, and I picked her in my true fashion, being like, oh, this researcher looks really interesting and their project looks really interesting. I'm going to go meet her. I had no idea she was a doctor. No idea that she's probably one of the most published and famous anaesthetists in Australia. So in true Carla fashion, just rolled in there being like, oh, I love your research, blah, blah, blah. But it ended up also being one of the best experiences of my life. And she introduced me to the world of clinical trial coordinating. And I got a job, got employed by her following my honours. So my honours, I guess, in itself was a bit of an internship year. And I found it as like a really great precursor of how do you go from doing your degree to being in a science career. I had no idea that clinical trial coordinating existed when I was throughout my whole degree. And then, so I literally went from finishing honours to running big drug trials at the Royal Melbourne Hospital with anaesthetists. It was great. I still wanted to do medicine, so I didn't lose track of that. But all the experience that I got in that job has helped me so much. And then just briefly, I went on to do some work with the Baker Heart and Diabetes Research Institute, also coordinating and managing some clinical trials there, looking at cancer patients. And then I came the full circle and ended up back working for Monash in the last year before I got into medicine. So I was working with the School of Public Health in the registries, the oncology registries department. So that was like basically forming a big database of all different outcomes for cancer patients who had pancreatic or esophageal cancer. So I really have come the full circle. And then being in medicine now, I think everyone says to me, oh, you're so lucky you've done all of that now, because now I can just really focus on studying medicine, whereas a lot of my colleagues are, you know, still trying to get publications and things for when they finish that's going to help them with their career. But I think I've just sort of done it the opposite way around, which I think it's so important in year 12. Everyone sort of tells you might not get in, or you know, there's different ways to go about things. And I was always sort of like, yeah, and never listened to those people, and then became one of those people. So I think don't be disheartened by your ATAR as well when you get your results, because there's really so many ways of going about things, and medicine is so competitive from the undergraduate point of view. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question, Kim. Sorry if I...
Well, there was a few questions in that lot, so you did, Carla. But didn't you also... correct me if I'm wrong, it was the first or second year, because you weren't that happy that you didn't get into medicine straight away, you then focused, but didn't you also gain a position working in a hospital? Just to immerse yourself in that environment as well as studying, just to get a feel for it?
Yeah, so I actually ended up, which this is one of my main tips that I always give to people when I'm asked to talk about various career things as well, is always just put yourself forward for opportunities, even if you don't think that you're qualified enough or whatever it may be. I applied to a bookings clerk position in operating theatres or in the day procedure centre at Cabrini Hospital, literally after leaving year 12. And the only thing I had on my CV was that a week of work experience in hospital. And I guess I got lucky in a way that they took a chance on me, but you know, you never know until you apply. And so I ended up working for my whole science degree on the palliative care ward and in the operating theatres, booking patients in, booking emergency procedures, dealing with doctors and nurses and all different kinds of health professionals every day from the start of my my degree, really. So that was also super helpful, and something that I would encourage anyone who says they want to do medicine to really get a experience of what a hospital is like and see what it actually involves. I've had many, many friends who started on the I want to do medicine journey with me. I'm getting old. It's in 2014. And so many have dropped off along the way. And it's not because they're not smart enough or they're not capable enough. It's just because they've decided, I don't want that life for me. I don't want that career, doesn't really suit me with what I want to do. Or it's not, it doesn't fit with what's important in my life. So, there's so many things that you have to sort of factor in when you want to do med. And I think getting the practical experience early on is really, really good, and would recommend it.
And I think you're a little bit different in that most students that we speak to, or in year 12 anyway, don't really know what they want to do, but you did from the get-go. So yeah, that's great.
And all the Monash subjects I did during my degree as well were just like, I found the whole degree really incredible. I'm not just saying that. I made, like, some of my friends to this day are still people that I met at Monash during science. So, the way that they run their subjects, I've found to be very prepared for my career. So my major in physiology has not only helped me in med, but in all my jobs so far. I was really surprised at, we did that at uni. Like, I know exactly what to do here, kind of thing. So, because I thought I was very unqualified to be doing what I was doing, but obviously not. Thanks to Monash.
More so. All right, Tambi, here's a question for you. What's one of your highlights or one of the best things that you did when you were studying? I can think of one, but I'm not sure if it's the same.
It probably is the same, Kim. So that research project that I mentioned earlier this evening, I was actually very fortunate enough, and thanks to Kim, I was actually able to present that in New York at the International Conference on Sustainable Development. And that was hands down one of the biggest highlights of my sort of studies, my career at that time. And it really gave me the chance to meet like-minded individuals, really senior individuals in the industries that I always dreamt of working in. And it was, hands down a highlight of my studies. Similarly, my honours year, I went up to Queensland to do some research work with sugarcane farmers up near the Great Barrier Reef. And my research was looking at their sort of perceptions of some of the governance approaches and some of their day-to-day struggles, and how we can really address them through more effective policy measures. So I was sort of going around different sugarcane farms, talking to farmers, and I actually got chased by a cassowary as well while doing that. So terrifying, but definitely a highlight. And I actually included a little photo in my final thesis of the cassowary that I accidentally got too close to.
Well, they're dangerous too.
Absolutely. This was a baby, so it wasn't too bad, but yeah, it definitely was running faster than I was.
Oof, jeez. And with your research, have you recently just published as well?
I have actually. So a couple of weeks ago, I got the final sort of tick that my my first author paper has been published in a journal called Geographical Research. So this was that research that I did up in Queensland with the farmers. So again, a very rewarding sort of result of that research that I did back at uni. And again, it really helps you sort of leverage different connections. It really helps you raise your profile in the industry. And it just really gives you those soft skills and networks that are really, really sought after by employers.
That is fantastic. Congratulations. You really deserve that. That is brilliant. All right, Chang, what's a highlight for you or something that's memorable for you during your study? Meeting me? Meeting Kayla?
A close second to my highlight.
Okay.
This program has been great. No, my highlight is probably so I went on exchange. That's where this photo is from, actually. So I went to Sweden for 6 months, and looking back, it was at a really good time because it was right before COVID hit. So if I'd pushed it any later, I wouldn't have made it. But so I went to Sweden for 6 months, and as a part of that, I did 3 subjects abroad in KTH University. And actually, I only did 3 subjects because I overloaded 1 subject back at Monash, so I could do less subjects over there, so I could travel. So if that's a reason, that's a good reason to overload. I think it paid off for me. While I was over there, I think I was there right from midsummer all the way down to basically like the winter solstice. And so it went from like being woken up at like, I don't know, 8 a.m. and the sun setting at 11 p.m. all the way to leaving class at 3 p.m. and it's been pitch black already. So it was really crazy coming out in January. And while I was there, I think every second or third weekend, I traveled to another country. Like I went to Estonia, I went to Germany, I went to Denmark, I went to Czechia, I went to France. So it was really good. I had a really good time. If you guys can squeeze in a study abroad, hopefully all this will be over, or the current situation is over by the time you guys are ready. So yeah, I had a really good time there.
That's fantastic. How's your Swedish now?
Not good at all. I know about 4 words. Tack så mycket, thank you. Ursäkta, excuse me. That might be it.
That's more than what I know, for sure. Alrighty, now we need to find out a little bit more about your current employment. So, Chang, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think you also were a lucky one in gaining employment before you actually finished your degree. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you're currently working at Telstra?
Yeah. I got super lucky last year because there was like 5,500 applicants for 120 roles or something. So super lucky. I applied to a bunch of spots and then Telstra accepted me.
And what's a day? Yeah, what does a day in your work life look like? So what do you do on a day? Walk us through it, except for the coffee and lunch.
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, on the days I'm in the office, it's like a coffee break to catch up and a lunch break and then another coffee break in the afternoon. But I currently work from home and Telstra lets us work from home as long as we want. So I usually work from home 4 to 5 days a week. And it's usually like I'd wake up in the morning, I'd spend maybe half an hour just kind of getting into things, reading emails, and then I try to schedule as many meetings as I can in the morning so that in the afternoon I have a good block of time to work on work. And really the biggest thing coming into work was like, wow, work is really like just doing an assignment. You're being paid to do an assignment for about the afternoon every day, which is actually not too bad because, assignments aren't that bad when you're being paid for them. So yeah, it's really surprising how much work is similar to an assignment. Like you have to get your requirements, you have a deadline, you have to like bug fix all your things. And yeah, that's how I describe my work.
So what sort of work are you able to share with us?
Fortunately I'm not in any like secret R&D or whatever.
Okay.
So as part of the grad program, there are 2 rotations, 2 6-month rotations. I've just finished my first rotation in a kind of a business analyst role where I basically do internal metrics reporting, tracking how well the business is performing by tracking various metrics and like making a visualization so that people can, like the leadership team can look and go, okay, NBN's not doing great this month, but HFC is or something like that. And yeah, so I've basically acting as a business analyst there. In my next rotation, I'll be moving into the emerging technology space where we look into what's new that's being researched and try to like find an application for it to see maybe down the line another department can actually make it into something that we see every day.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So this is where we find out some more information as well, not only the audience. So that's great.
Need some Telstra perks, hit me up.
What can you give us?
Oh, I can. If you run into problems with customer service, you can ping me and I'll let them know.
Oh, I wish you worked for Optus. Okay. Thank you for that, everyone. Did you hear that? You can hit Chang up for some to divert through customer service. I love it. Tarvi, now I'm going to ask you about your role. So what is it? What does your, well, can we talk pre-COVID maybe and post-COVID actually as a comparison? What does it look like for you, your day-to-day work?
Yeah, so I basically work as an environmental and social scientist at GHD. GHD is not the hair company, mind you. I always get that question. It's actually an engineering, environmental and architectural consulting services firm. So we provide technical services to some of our major clients those clients being water utilities, state government, councils, you name it. Like we really work with some of the really big sort of infrastructure and developments going on sort of around the world, around Melbourne, around Australia, and so on. So I currently work in the water strategy space. So we help some of our clients develop long-term water strategies for their accounts, their communities, their townships, and so on. A lot of that involves, meeting with community members, engaging with stakeholders, engaging with different departments of governments, and really understanding what their drivers are, what they want to see, what the challenges are in the water and climate space, and tailoring a solution for them around those issues. I also do quite a lot of strategic business development work. So currently I'm leading our SDGs strategy for our water market. So what that involves is developing a roadmap or a plan for where we want to see our business in the next 3 years in the sustainability space, and how we can really align our values with our clients' values and be seen as leaders in that sort of SDG space. So yeah, that's sort of, I mean, like in consulting, you really don't have a typical day. Like you work on so many different types of projects. There's some that you don't really like. There's some that you really like. There's a great sort of mixture, a great diversity. So I wouldn't say there's a typical day. You're always being challenged. You're always learning new things. You're working with heaps of different people across Australia, across the world. So that's really, really exciting and really rewarding. Pre-COVID and post-COVID, very similar to Chang. We have an office in the city, and I used to go in every day. And after lockdown, I work from home every day. I have, although, been on the large sort of Northeast Link project for the past 6 months. So engaging with some of the affected business owners and project managing a lot of the soil and geotechnical investigations. So I do get to be out on site for about 3 to 4 days a week. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of diversity, but a lot of it is definitely from home, at least for now. And hopefully we'll get to go into the office a little bit more soon.
Yes, that's what we're waiting for as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned project management. Now, that's not something that you would be able to walk straight into, I would think, straight out of university. Do you think your honours year assisted with learning those skills?
A little bit. I think honours definitely teaches you how to manage yourself and really stay disciplined, and how to stick to your own time frames. But project management in a business or in a consulting firm is very different to that. It's about managing people and managing budgets, and it's managing client expectations. So that's definitely something that you would learn on the job. It's really not something that you can learn throughout honours, but the things that you do learn at university are really how to manage yourself and how to understand your own learning style, how you work best, and prepare yourself for the workforce, basically.
Have you encountered any challenges? Has there been anything where you thought, oh gee, this is tough, how do I get around this?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is sometimes you're put on projects that you just don't like, and you just can't wait for them to be over. I think every job has an element of that. You're always going to have to do things that you don't like. A clear example of that was I absolutely hate modeling and coding and that sort of stuff, and I think a lot of people on this panel would disagree with me. But I really love that strategic thinking, that high level working with clients, working with community members. And like if you put me in front of a screen and tell me to like run a batch file or like something like Python, I will absolutely just cry. So getting through those projects and still seeing those as learning opportunities is really important. And just acknowledging that there will be little dips where you'll be put on projects that you don't enjoy, but those opportunities are really the ones that teach you what you don't like. And that in itself is a success for me. Like I pretty much got through a lot of my sort of really difficult decisions by understanding what I didn't want to do. And that's really what helped me understand what I wanted to do. So, even if you don't like something, just see it as I don't like this. That's great. Like now I know that I don't want to do this, and that's going to help me in my future career direction.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Sometimes those negative experiences just lead you down a different path and make you actually think, yeah, that's not for me. And sometimes students will encounter that in their internships as well and realise, you know what? being in a lab is not for me. And that's okay, because now you know, you've had that experience. So
Exactly.
yeah. And Carla, what about you? Now, not so much study, but say when you were working as a trials coordinator, what would an ordinary day or a typical day, maybe, might not be typical, look like for you?
Yes, so nothing I think is ever really typical when you're working in research. That said, a trials coordinator job probably is one of the research jobs that does have the most sort of structure. So at Royal Melbourne Hospital, where I worked for probably most of my time as a trial coordinator, I would get into the hospital sometimes around 5:30, 6 a.m. at the hospital, which was delightful, and get changed into my scrubs for the day and basically run around madly looking for patients that were eligible to participate in our drug trials. So they would be getting admitted to the hospital to have their operations by the nurses, and I would then approach them and say, hey, we're doing a research study. This is what it involves. Would you be interested in participating? And then if they said yes, I would be frantically running around for looking for study drugs, randomizing the patient, and then, yeah, basically working really closely with the anaesthetist to deliver whatever protocol we were using for that research study. So there's a lot of talking to patients, which I think people don't expect when you go into research. So primarily my job was essentially to just talk to the patients. So, you know, consent them, you know, talk through their concerns about participating in research, then do a lot of questionnaires, collect their medical history, things like that. So a really relevant job if you are thinking of doing medicine later on as well. Then when I was at the Baker Institute, I actually got trained in things like completing electrocardiograms, which is looking at the electrical activity of the heart, performing venipuncture, which is taking blood from patients, performing bone density scans. So I was really doing kind of everything, lots of patient-facing things, working with research nurses and doctors, basically all the time at the Baker Institute. There is quite a lot of administrative work as well. So, you know, you could be emailing nurses or patients to follow up on information. Scheduling people to come in for their research appointments tends to be a big administrative component as well. So you really do get a really nice mix. I guess it depends I guess the best thing about being a research coordinator is you can literally work on any trial that you want, because you kind of apply for the job and they'll outline the trial. So the day-to-day activities really vary so much. So, you know, when I ended up at Monash, I wasn't talking to patients at all, and it was more a registry based, but I developed my sort of project management skills a lot more. So it really depends on what you want to do, and that's great as well, because you can sort of tailor it to your strengths, I guess. You know, if you don't want to be so people facing all the time, you can find the jobs that are more office based, or if you really want to get that hands-on, you know, experience with patients because you want to do medicine, that's something that you can do really easily as well.
It's great, because we often have questions from students that are interested in studying the biomedical sciences, but don't want to go into medicine, but also don't want to be in a lab all day either. So it's just perfect.
Yeah, and I sort of never knew that either. I think there was a lot of focus on lab-based research, which is great, but clinical, like I can genuinely say, like I had to go back to Australia for 3 months earlier in the year, and I had 3 jobs within 2 weeks. So that was not a great idea, but that just shows you the employability. Like, it's an upcoming field. There's hardly any science students that do end up doing it. It's a lot of nurses will actually go into it, and a lot of people don't know that it's an option. But there's things sort of like a GCP training certificate that you can do through hospitals. I think Peter Mack even has a course now, the hospital, on how to become a trial coordinator. Universities are starting to run sort of like a crash course on how to do trial coordinating now, and it's a really employable field, and the salary can be super attractive as well. If you're working for private organizations or not for profit, you actually get to salary package and get out of paying lots of tax. So, you know, the rewards are endless.
That's great. So the audience tonight have not only heard from current students, our alumni, but also they're getting some employment tips as well. Because yeah, it's wherever you can collect and gain information, it's really, really important. I think that you take it on
legally
board.
Get out of tax. I should
Yeah,
but illegally.
Alrighty, now last question or final question I should say to the three of you, and Carla, I'll start with you. So now that you've graduated, so think back to when you were in year 12, what piece of advice would you have given yourself back then?
I think have more of an open mind, which might not be a problem that a lot of you guys have. So have an open mind and embrace every opportunity that kind of gets thrown your way. I think, you know, the second part is something that I was probably good at, and that's what led me to having so many opportunities, was that I just said yes to things, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting, I'll just apply. Whereas a lot of people, I think, or a lot of my friends would say, you know, oh, but I'm not qualified enough for that, or like that's not, I'm not good enough, or I'm not, you know, whatever it might be. And whereas I would just sort of say, oh, I'll apply, and, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'd get a no. Well, you know, like sometimes you get a yes, which is really great. But I think just to be a lot more open-minded, you know, I was obviously very set on medicine, which is a lot of people when they come out of year 12 who are interested in science, but, you know, sometimes it's not the right career for you. And I ended up doing research for 3 years, which is something I said I would never ever do. So I think, Monash gives you so many opportunities as well to do things like, you know, be a part of the student ambassador program. And that was one of the things on my CV when I was applying for medicine, and Kim actually wrote me a recommendation letter as well. So, you know, you just never know what sort of opportunities are going to lead to help you in the future. So I think, if you just say yes to everything and try and get involved as much as you can, and keep an open mind about everything. And that would be my advice.
Thank you. Tanvi, what about you? What would you advise your year 12 self now?
Well, I would definitely 100% echo everything that Carla has just said. And I guess I have a similar sort of experience in that, you know, I wanted to do something and ended up doing something else. And I think a lot of the time, us, you know, as, you know, year 12s, we often feel the pressure to know exactly what we want to be doing. And when we don't know what we want to do, it's really nerve-wracking, it's really daunting. But I think the biggest advice I'd give myself is, you know, you really don't need to know what you want to do. That's what uni is for. That's what you do at uni. You explore what you like, what you don't like. It's really a discovery journey where you slowly evolve. Your preferences might change, your interests might change, and just be really open to that, because that's totally normal, and that's definitely just going to help you, you know, develop into a more sort of, you know, better professional self.
Agree. And Chang?
I think I also echo everything that was just said. Like, definitely go with the flow, see what you like, and change. Like, feel free to change your trajectory based on what you're enjoying, and definitely also agree to everything, because I mean that's probably why we're all here, because we're agreeing and we're having a good time. But I think I've been giving that answer for about 3 years now, so I'll give a different answer. I think in terms of more specific advice, I think everyone should treat, and I should have treated, making friends, going out and all that as like a fifth subject. Like, you think of it as a marked subject, keep it up, keep it balanced with everything else. Don't go too overboard with that one if your other marks are failing. But everything everyone talks about networking, about building up soft skills and all that, that's just making friends. Like, as long as you put effort into it, every opportunity is an opportunity to practice networking, but also like you come out of it with friends. And if you don't, I mean, that's okay. So yeah, treat it as a fifth subject. Don't feel guilty about going out and making friends. Like, it's an important part of your development too.
It is. I love that. I hadn't heard of that before. Treat it like a fifth subject. That's fantastic. Can I use that?
Yeah, go ahead. I was thinking about it last night, going like, what can I say this year?
Fantastic. I love it. I just love the fact that last year you were at this event as a current student, and now you're come back as an alum, which is fantastic.
It's so strange seeing like Artemis, Lockie and Amy here. Like, I was here like last year. That's crazy.
I think it's brilliant. So I think that's it as far as the panel's concerned. How are we doing for time, Michaela?
Classically, we have gone over. It's now 51. We always do this. So that's okay. Yeah.
And do we have any final questions?
I'm just going to share my screen again because we do have this
one more
dinosaur here. So if you do need to contact us in any way, I think Kim also shared the Your Essential Guide URL, which is just there, and we'll put it in the chat again. It's a really great website which has lots of our information on it. If you want to contact us directly, you can make an appointment. You can make an appointment to chat to one of our fabulous current students as well. We try and match you up with a student who is studying a similar thing that you might be interested in. But we do have some questions if you want me to read them out, Kim.
I think we'll just,
yeah, why not? We're here. This person wants to do a double degree of science and law, but didn't get the ATAR for law, which is very high, it's 98. Could they go into science and then transfer into the double degree of science and law, and how does this work? And do they have to spend a certain amount of time in the science course first to get certain grades?
Great question, and really common. And so what I would recommend is coming into a science degree, study the science for a year. In the elective component of the science degree, I think you may be able to squeeze one of the first year law units in there. So you would want to achieve a 70% minimum average and then apply for an internal transfer at the end of the year. And that would be your pathway.
Oh, excellent. And we have another question. If I do the Bachelor of Science course, can I do a pharmacy honours course at Monash? Can I use science as a pathway to pharmacy, I guess?
You certainly can. There's two options, actually. You could complete the first year of the Bachelor of Science, make sure that you have satisfied all the subject prerequisites, achieve a 70%, and you could transfer into pharmacy. Or you could complete the Bachelor of Science and apply for graduate entry into pharmacy as well. So you would end up with 2 degrees. I think that takes 5 years. Yeah, I think it's an additional 2 years on top of your Bachelor of Science. So there's two options there. Yeah, for you.
Cool. All right. Any more questions?
I think that might be it. We've kept everyone up too late, including ourselves.
But that's okay.
Which is what we do. I love Tambi, actually, when you were talking about no day is typical, and I was just thinking to myself, that is Michaela and I. No day is typical. We are constantly juggling different balls from different areas, trying to keep them all afloat. Just that really resonated with me. So I'm glad somebody else is experiencing that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we might leave it there.
Yes, excellent. Thank you all so much. Thanks for coming.
Thanks everyone for coming and listening to us, and all the very, very best in your studies or whatever you decide to do this year or the year after. I'd like to thank our students and our alumni for coming and joining us tonight. It is so great to see you. And yeah, just a big kiss. Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right, see you. Bye.